Hello and welcome to Trailbuilding 101. Today we're going to be talking about a subject that folks have been asking for. How to stealth build. You fucking deviants. Stealth building needs to happen when you're building on land that you don't necessarily have permission to build on, or when it's better to not let people know what you're up to. It's a bit of a moral gray area. If you have a problem with that, I suggest you stop watching now. It's not going to get better. However, if you're still interested, I can share numerous ways that can help you build in secret.
You're still here.
Let's start with some basics. 1. Don't talk about it.
You do not talk about Fight Club.
Mountain bikers love to talk about the 3 pillars of riding: crashing, jumping, and trails. Don't fuel that gossip machine. If they don't know about it, they won't be looking for it. And it saddens me to say this next thing, but stay off social media, you munter.
Put your fucking phone down.
2. Don't build the start or the end. You want to do that last. Once everything else is done, then build the finish, and then build the start. It's simple and it works. 3. Cover any new trail you've built with leaves and debris as you build it. If you follow the previous tips, then folks don't know the trail should exist. The human eye looks for patterns and irregularities. Sticks and leaves create a breakup pattern, something you likely know as humanity's ultimate high fashion trend, camouflage. This is exactly that, just less stylish, but more effective. We see you, Drake.
Right.
Make sure you do the step if you don't want your trail to be discovered. 4. Be quiet.
When a problem comes along, you must zip it.
Stealth building means being stealthy. No power tools, no hammering, no impact drivers. If you follow those rules, the most common loud noise you'll make is your tools striking a rock. When you do strike a rock, and it's loud, stop. The first sound will draw people's attention, but the following loud noises will allow people in the woods to start zeroing in on your location. Think third cigarette with a single match. 5. Don't wear bright colors. Like I said, these are some basic tips, but it needs to be said. Wear muted colors. Browns, greens, blacks. It doesn't need to be camo, but it should definitely not be neon. 6. Stop when you see people.
Stop right there!
If you're paying attention, you'll see folks before they see you. When I'm building, my head is on a swivel.
You all kept your head on a swivel, and that's what you gotta do when you find yourself in a vicious cockfight.
When I spot someone, I'll stop and sit. Note, if you do get busted, then kill them with kindness. Most folks have no idea what you're doing when they first see you. If you try to hide, they're going to be suspicious. I have found that if you wave and say hello, the majority will wave and carry on. Now keep in mind I'm a middle-aged white guy, so white privilege may play into this. But in general, be smart and understand the potential user group you're building near and react accordingly. Now, what if it's the cops? Thankfully, I haven't had to deal with this situation, but if you're asking for my advice, run. I expect you're in better shape, know the terrain better, and are more motivated in any chase scenario. Nothing good comes from talking with cops who have been called for a disturbance. At the very least, they'll take your name. At worst, you're going to be arrested. Alright, so those are the basics. But wait, there's more. I've also got some pro tips for you, so let's get into it. Pro tip number 1, bring your dog. If you're by yourself in the woods, then people are going to think you're either getting high, homeless, or a pervert. But if you're in the woods with your dog, you belong. You're basically a postcard. That is, as long as you don't have a barky dog. Bonus points if your dog has a huge head like mine. Then they'll keep their distance. Pro tip number 2, avoid being seen carrying tools. Carrying tools is a dead giveaway that you're not going for a nature walk. If you're carrying tools, you want to do it casually. We have a great hack for this with our Rogue hose, and it's this. Actually, I'm carrying my hoe right now. It's right there behind me, but if you see it from the front, you can't see it at all, and at the back, it's just sticking out back there. And all you got to do is take one shoulder off the bag, grab the hoe. So there's your hoe. You grab it like this, you reach over, you put your shoulder strap back on, you pull it down. Probably the smart thing to do is not to have it this way, so you turn it away from your head, pull it down, boom, gone. Pro tip number 3, you can avoid carrying tools if you stash your tools near the build site, like this. Beside this tree is like the ultimate place to stash a tool. Things are really easy to stash here. Scrape off, a spot like this. Things are still a little frozen here in Toronto. You lay your tool down like that, okay? But then all you do is you take the leaves that you've brushed off the trail, off the spot, and you move them on top. All right, and look at that. That is like the best way to stash a tool. I've never lost a tool in the woods with this method, but to be honest, I have lost stash tools in the woods by forgetting where I've stashed them. Seriously, there are several hard rakes and numerous tarps I've stashed in the dawn, and I have no idea where I left them. If you find them, please return them to me. Pro tip number 4, time of day is huge. The reality is there are far fewer people out in the morning. And while the world is quieter in the morning, there are far fewer ears to hear what you are doing. I'm talking early, like first light. It's ideal for hot spots. Plus, you're likely going to see wildlife. Win-win. Pro tip number 5, cold and wet days. The type of days that are threatening to be outside. Once things get cold, people stop going outside. Dog walkers shorten their walks, and most folks just plain don't go out. Just one reason why later fall and early spring are ideal times to build. Another win-win. Wet days are another great time to build because folks believe they are allergic to water when it's not coming from a shower head.
I'm melting!
So take advantage. But be aware, rain can turn dirt to mud, which makes dirt unshapeable and tools heavy. Pro tip number 6, wind. Wind is your friend, especially a cold one. Yes, it makes for brisker days, but that hostility means far fewer people in the woods, and wind makes noise. It hides the sounds you're making extremely well. Take advantage of windy days. Pro tip number 7, nighttime. If you're building in a seriously hot area, then sometimes nighttime is the best time. It sounds crazy, but like sex, it's just better sometimes with the lights off. Here in Toronto, there's almost always some light, usually enough to build by. The night works really well because most folks don't go into the woods at night, and when they do, they bring a light so you can see them coming. And if they do spot you, they sure as hell aren't going to approach you if you've got what looks like an axe in your hand. You might even get lucky and have a street light provide all the light you need. Yeah, night building. Pro tip number 8, power tools like chainsaws. Choose electric ones. They can be pretty quiet, especially in the wind where they barely make a sound. And if you can, time your cuts with planes going overhead or when other loud noises are happening. Works a charm. Pro tip number 9. Sometimes you're faced with driving in rebar or other metal to hold features in for cribbing. Using a mini sledge makes a lot of noise, but using a rock or chunk of concrete actually reduces the sound considerably. You don't have to carry a hammer into the woods. It's effective and it's good for the guns. All right, these are the main tips that I wanted to share with you that I use to ensure as few people find out about trails I'm building as possible. But I bet you've got some, so share them up in the comments. As always, thanks for watching. See you on the trails.
That was legitness.
Yeah, it was, huh?